The Senate Armed Services Committee, SASC, has added $1.2 billion to the fiscal year 2018 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, for the U.S. Air Force's OAX Light Attack Observation Aircraft effort. The service will be conducting an experiment this summer to determine if such an aircraft would be useful to perform missions over permissive airspace in place of much more expensive and capable 4th and 5th generation fighters. The Air Force is expected to test 4 different aircraft types including Sierra Nevada's A-29 Super Tucano, the Hawker Beechcraft AT-6, the Textron Scorpion jet and the Air Tractor 800 during its experiment. The Senate, and particularly SASC Chairman Senator John McCain, wants to push the Air Force into buying a fleet of roughly 300 OAX aircraft to help relieve the ever-increasing burden on the service's tactical fighter fleet and to help season younger pilots. The idea behind funding this is actually to move this program along, a Senate aide told reporters during a SASC background brief on June 29. The best way to do that is to provide the funding to get the program started. The OAX is not technically an Air Force program of record yet, but the idea behind the SASC funding line is to push the service into transforming it into a formal acquisitions program. The Air Force had intended to use its experiment this summer to gauge the utility of an OAX aircraft for combat missions over permissive environments during low-intensity conflicts before building a business case to buy such a plane. The SASC language would bypass that process and appropriate $1.2 billion to buy 300 OAX aircraft by 2022. Those aircraft would be in addition to the Air Force fleet, bolstering the number of frontline squadrons, rather than a replacement for any other type. Earlier in the week, I spoke to Taco Gilbert, Sierra Nevada's Senior Vice President for Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance, ISR, the prime contractor for the A-29 Super Tucano in the United States. Gilbert noted that the Air Force has been through several iterations of the OAX over the past 15 or so years. Each time, be it the Light Air Support, LAS, or Light Attack Armed Reconnaissance, LAR, or some other program designation, the effort to field a light combat aircraft suitable for the low-end counterinsurgency fight has failed to come to fruition, largely due to institutional biases within the Air Force. But over the course of the years, the Air Force seems to have come to the recognition that the low-intensity counterinsurgency fight is not going away. In previous years, the 2009 iteration of the OAX program had died a slow death as the Air Force moved to posture itself for an era where it would return to fighting conventional state-on-state conflicts. This time around, things might be different. The Air Force is serious enough to conduct a public experiment, and for that, I applaud them, Gilbert said. They realize the normal acquisition processes are lengthy, so they are trying something different. Overall, there seems to be broad recognition that using a Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor stealth fighter or a F-35 Joint Strike Fighter to hit a $15,000 pickup truck filled with insurgents in the desert with a $35,000 Joint Direct Attack munition is a foolish idea. Everyone realizes there is a need for a very economical fighter aircraft that has a multi-mission capability, that can fly in permissive environments and take the load off of the tired 4th-generation fighters, the new 5th-generation fighters, and not use up their service life in missions that don't require all that capability, Gilbert, a former Air Force F-111 aardvark aviator, said. Further, there is the fighter pilot shortage, which requires not only cockpits to train fighter pilots, but cockpits to season them. And seasoning in 4th and 5th generation aircraft is phenomenally more expensive than in an OAX. In terms of seasoning fighter pilots, something like an A-29 or AT-6 has all of the capabilities to instill the skills and fighter pilot mindset into young aviators at a fraction of the cost. The aircraft have cockpit displays, targeting pods and weapons that are similar to more sophisticated machines like the Lockheed Martin F-16C Fighting Falcon, but are slower and more forgiving, affording a young pilot a chance to learn. The A-29 can do all of the missions that they are looking for that seasoning, Gilbert said. Does it a little slower? Maybe a little bit lower than an Lockheed Martin F-22, but it allows fledgling fighter pilots to hone their skills in mission planning and operational employment so that when they get into the expensive fighters, they are more capable. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe.